Hey guys, so for this week, our special guest is Massimo Pirone.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you
Nice to
too.
meet you too.
Great.
Massimo Pirone plays trombone, bass trombone, and tuba. After graduating from
Yeah.
the conservatory, he started his activities, music, playing in major television programs, in the studio recording scene from 1987. For most of every movie made by E. Morricone, he was part of the orchestra. He collaborated with many other American jazz musicians, such as Quincy Jones, music for MTV, Natalie Cole, Harold Jones, Alan Broadbent, and Bill Watrous, with whom he recorded 2 CDs. He has participated in many jazz festivals such as Umbria Jazz and Pescara Jazz. He wrote 2 method books for trombone and bass trombone, the Jazz Bass Trombone and the Complete Method for Trombone and Basics to Jazz Improvising. Welcome.
Welcome, Mr. Pirone.
Thank you for a great welcome.
What have you been up to during quarantine?
And this time is hard to think in positive, for the future because musicians normally don't have a good life, many problems, for work. Future, I don't think so. Is go better. This time is okay for thinking many things, for develop arts, arrangements, or something, or practice. I practice a lot more than the past years.
Yeah.
I practice with a single trigger bass trombone a lot this night, just for go back in my early years on the bass. With a single trigger is old style, like 60s, 50s style playing. Like a George Roberts, Kenny Schroeder, my idols. Sounds great. And I want to develop the technique again on the single trigger. I have my double and I play every day with it, but this time I moved to single just for understand the correct way of playing that. I wrote some books, maybe next month go to print for bass trombone, 15 duets for 2 bass trombones. The funny things, I finished all arrangement for my new project in my CD where Gina will playing also in a one tune for All for George. Is a big project. It's hard to recording the rhythm session because this time is all people blocked in home. It's hard times.
You said you have been playing a lot of single trigger bass. What do you like about single trigger bass that makes you want to play it?
I love 70H count, but it's too smaller anymore. I love from maybe 30 years. The first one I bought 87. The first series of count 70, maybe the hand of the 40s is a single trigger, but it's too smaller. In the years I bought again, I love the sound. It's between a tenor and the bass. The feeling is like a 42 back, a little more bigger. I love the sound. I love George Roberts when he played that, or Kenny Schroeder. It's not for me. Now I love my old Yamaha 321 Red Bell. It's very easy to play, and I love that for single works. It's a very easy and open, warm sound.
You're putting together
Yeah.
this rhythm section for the tune that we're
Oh
going to
yeah.
play on together. How have you been doing a lot of recording like this during quarantine, and how have you been
No,
doing it?
no. In this quarantine, I don't record nothing. Just play in a house. But in the past, I recorded a lot of records. I try to play my music or old stuff. I love it. Like George Roberts stuff, something like that. I composed something in this time, some piece.
Are
Great.
you waiting for after to record them, or do you have any plans to try to record anything from home?
Oh, I don't know. This is the next project is for all friends play for George Roberts tribute. It's the bass trombone most I love. I try to arrange 20 pieces around and the one original composition that I recording me and the Bill Reichenbach together. The project is basically is all standards or something written for George, like Let's George Do It maybe it's McCoy, the composer. Mostly are making whoopee or something like that. There were famous pieces, sounds great by George,
Yeah.
How Deep is the Ocean with Frank Sinatra, This is a lyrical playing,
Can you
lyrical.
talk about the Two Brothers album that you made with Bill Reichenbach?
Oh, yeah. Okay, I start from the beginning of the history when I heard the first time Bill Reichenbach. After George Roberts, Bill is my second hero in the friends, also for George. I was a friend of George. I met in Los Angeles. I play for him also. Bill, I heard his solo album, also the album of Don Menza, Orno Plenty, where Bill plays amazing solos on bass, on Take the Train. And after many times I listen every day these records. I deeply love them and transcribe his solos is a unique style, and also the sound is like a George Roberts improvising, something like that. And I think is oh wow, the most beautiful thing I think is the right way for me. I try to collect everything, And in 2000, I wrote a letter for meet Bill in person when I come to Los Angeles in 2000. And I go in his home and enjoy meet him. Really nice guy. And then we play together. After some years, I come back in Los Angeles, and after we try to do a CD together, and we reckon I come from Los Angeles to Rome, and we play together in a jazz concert, jazz festival. Two bass trombones, like a J&K, two octave below, not one, but two.
Yeah.
Compass, is a funny thing, but I know many records like 10 trombones, two pianos by Pete Rugel or George Roberts and Kenny Schroyer, or Tutti trombones, Camerati, duets by bass trombones is a very nice sound, and I love that. I try to transport for a quintet, just quintet like J&K. Bill was happy for that. We do the first CD together, and after some years, we do three tunes together in another CD, two tubas together in one tune, In the Two Brothers Health Project, my compositions, and the Alpha by Bill, all original tunes. And the last one is transcribed Bill solo, Orno Plenty Records, Domenza. And they use it like a special, and they play together the same solo, It's a funny project, but very like it from me and from Bill. A good project to put together.
So you double a lot. You play tenor trombone, you play bass trombone. It was actually kind of hard to find a picture of you because you're
Oh,
playing different instruments in all the different
oh,
pictures. So
oh,
can you
yeah.
talk to us a little bit about doubling and how you
Yeah.
maintain all of that?
I love Franco Rosolino, mostly Franco Rosolino and Carl Fontana. I play one time with Carl Fontana in Switzerland. Bill Waters play on my 2 CD. Is very nice guy too. Bill is my hero, so, but I love this kind of playing, with like notes, with a small tenor. With I play mostly on tenor 11C size mouthpiece now 6.5, a little bit shallow, but it's important. I play every day with both trombones. My bass trombone mouthpiece is like a mini Cal, is a copy by Resonance. Yes, it's a friend of mine, and make amazing mouthpiece. The best is 9% is before the mouthpiece, naturally. Paul Felice said that to me when I was around 21 years old, and I meet Paul with Frank Sinatra in Rome, and I asked him for what kind of mouthpiece, what kind of horn, what he replied to me is important before the mouthpiece. The most important thing is the player. But anyway, I'm comfortable with this size. In my conception, I use the tenor basically from F central go up, and then
Yeah.
the bass trombone from F to down. I think it's two different horns. For good flexibility, it's good for bass, it's good for both, and good breath is good for both. Many on the tenor play with a less breath. If you play bass, you need a lot of breath. I think the best thing is practice every day, both horns, also the tuba. I use E flat tuba for many years. I played the old bass and then moved to boots and oaks. I think it's a little better after the compensating system is a little bit harder to play. It's not really easy because I have an endorser for XO and I take a Jupiter tuba, E flat tuba, standard tuba is no a perfect E flat tuba, but working well, a little better than compensating tuba. It's cheaper tuba, but works great.
Which instrument do you think best represents your musical voice of all of them?
I think in my head that I said before, in my range for the tenor trombone and the bass trombone for the medium low. And basically, I play in every range, but when I play in F to go up, I think in a tenor on bass, and the same in the tenor when I go in the lower, I think like a bass. But I think my voice when I like this, I think a tenor.
Yeah.
When I play softly, I think a bass.
Wow,
It's the
okay.
same. It's the same thing, for me.
Do you think your sound changes or your concept changes when you're changing between different styles, like big band or when you're in the studio, when
Oh,
you're playing solo?
I go in Los Angeles when I meet Bill and many other friends. I go many times in the studio for see in LA how do the records. In New York, I never go in the studio. I play with the song guys like Larry Farah, Bill Johnson, Tom Malone. But in LA, I moved to many studio sessions, and he played very softly, more softly than live in the studio. I think very light sounds. As a microphone is very close to the bell. Maybe it's better for intonation, in tune, and a warm sound. Mellow sound. I love Dave Taylor. I meet a lot of times in my life in Rome, in Umbria Jazz from my 21 years old, and I meet him maybe 15 times. He's incredible. Like at the same with David Barger and his two trombonists with a big volume live with a great sound. No distortion, no. It's perfect. It's like a small volume and then forte in the same. It's incredible. And for me, it's a different big band. I think one of the best sounds that I listen live is Dave Taylor, Al McIntyre, Jeff Nelson, Bill Reichenbach. Absolutely. I try to emulate this I listen in my life, and I think it's the best. George Roberts in the old style in the records is amazing. I never heard George play live in a big band.
How did you start improvising on bass trombone?
I start on bass trombone before her Bill Reichenbach. I listen George, Kenny Schroyer, something, some as example, Tony Stott, Tony Stott. But mostly play, I know, the bass trombone. I love to play jazz like a bass trombone. It's my conception from my early years. And one time I play with Steve Turre, and I meet sometimes after. And we recording at the Never Print, but it's incredible. And we play in Rome together with a jazz concert. And he said to me, because I improvising with Steve in the low notes, no high notes. I think it's a 93. He said to me is a correct way for to play the jazz bass and ball. At the beginning of this thing, I tried to found my way, my way of playing.
Can you talk about your books?
The first one, the jazz bass trombone. Yeah, this is the front cover. The bass trombone and the cover is my Canstel when I have it endorsed by Canstel is a copy of 62 H-Con. My book is a project for a student for develop the technique because for improvising you need agility and the flexibility. Basically, I think that bass trombone like a tenor trombone, with the flexibility in the lower register. And one of the best book, hopefully, is a book Paul is a big friend of mine, and he's a lovely guy and amazing player. Was my hero too. He wrote a book about the flexibility as a very important for play with ease the bass and bone. And when you're improvising, you need flexibility, technique, agility, double tone also. I wrote because I use the double technique in the bass trombone. I put everything I know from the basics, give the most important tools for the student or the play of technique, sounds, and everything, and develop and try to go in the correct way, for playing jazz. And in the jazz session, I put scales, chords, all things for develop harmony on the instrument. I think it's a good book for understand all stuff from the beginning to the jazz playing. Also, some example like some patterns, some lines from chorus and chorus. They each note change between one chorus and another. For give the correct change or quickly. My conception in the book, trying to take from transcribe solos, and understand something from the great soloist.
Can you talk a little bit about what's inside the advanced book? So this is the other book you wrote.
This is like another composer and trombonist I love, Tommy Peterson. He wrote a lot of stuff hard for bass trombone, for tenor too. I tried to compose solos for bass trombones, and also inside the exercise, I put a lot of stuff for basic techniques. You practice the technique with the music. This is my idea.
Can you talk to us about how do you approach playing a ballad?
Oh yeah, for me the ballad is a really important music, mostly than other standards. Mostly of the standards, medium times or up times. Is mostly is technical exercise. Sometimes, you know, feeling is no in fast tempo.
Yeah.
There's no a lot of feeling. Most of the time when I play ballads, I think something in my life for transportation, something I living in my life. One of the best thing is to know all words of the song for to understand what you play and what feeling is better for playing that ballad. Body and soul, something like that is a very important transportation and thinking music and thinking to take off your soul, something important. And when you play in this way, I think the people, the audience understand that. Sometimes I listen many players, when they play ballads or play medium or play fast, use the same vibrato. For me, it's not a good choice, because it seems like a vibrato is a big expression of your soul. And I think if you play the same vibrato when you play Make the Knife or you play Body and Soul, it's not the same things. I think it's a different. You need different a little bit. Frank Rosolino, for example, is a top feeling every time, like J.J. Johnson too. Every piece he play is the top. Is a play of funky music, and when you play the ballads, is the main way or show your soul, no technique but soul.
What's your favorite ballad to play?
Oh, my favorite ballads. At this time, I love The Nearness of You. It's one of my favorite, or The Shadow of Your Smile. It's many beautiful ballads. Nancy Sinatra singing, or John Coltrane as amazing version of Nancy on the ballads album. A very good example is John Coltrane. When he play ballads, he play only the them, but he play with deep, deep soul. It's a really impressive. He play in his life millions of notes. When he played ballads, he played the them with a deeper soul, mostly of the many players with a bigger art.
Mm-hmm.
This is the difference.
Can you talk to us about what your favorite part of your music career has been?
Sometimes it's good, sometimes not. Particular time, I remember some good works, some good experience, like Natalie Cole tour with Arrow Jones and the original rhythm session, great guys like Alan Broadbent. And when I asked to Alan Broadbent, he said to me, He played piano in the Frank Rosinell Quartet for many years, and I think, oh my God. And Harold Jones, I love Harold Jones because he played with Count Basie. Tony Bennett is an amazing drummer. And this is or when I play with Quincy Jones, or when I recorded with Bill Reichenbach, and I play with Bill together, close to Bill is incredible. He's a like mentor, yes. And also when I play with Bill Rogers, or when I play with the Los Angeles Trombone Choir, with many LA greats like Phil Till and many more. Sometimes it's good works. When I play in the TV show, it's no good times,
Yeah.
bad music, good money, but every night the same things, it's very terrible work. When I start a new show, I think, oh, it's good music. I love it. After 2 weeks, you think,
Have you played any bucket list gigs? You know, bucket list?
sometimes I think a new project for now. This is new CD, all for George. I love George because I meet a few times and love it from my early years. I think I listened George when I was 10 years old because my mother loved Frank Sinatra, and I have tapes of Frank Sinatra with Nelson Riddle. Sinatra swinging stations, with solos, and it all depends on you. It's only Paper Moon, something like that. For now, this project. In October or November, maybe I will play with Tom Malone again in
Mm.
Italy. Tom came to Rome. I think it's okay. He's open for to move. We have a concert in May, but it's canceled for COVID. But in October, November, we meet again for 5 or 6 concerts, maybe recording a new album together live, maybe. Yeah, we're recording an album together live, but I think this is next one. Also, new books, maybe jazz with chords, like a solo for understand what you play. And I love your solo transcriber. I downloaded. It's great in my bass trombone conception. Yes.
Nice. Where can listeners go to buy your book?
The first one I have the website Molfi Records, but it's easy to find on eCase Music online. Is very easy. And the other one is from Tuba Markel. Internet is easy to find that.
How do you think the music business is going to change after the COVID outbreak?
In Italy, we don't have syndicates. This is big trouble
Yeah.
for musicians because all free market. Sometimes you have a big money, and sometimes you have a bad money. It go up and down normally. Now I think we go bad. We go bad because many think, no, we don't have money, or we go and cut something in the band, in the horn section, maybe trombone is the first cut, and then trumpet and the remain only saxophone, maybe. In the US, music is a different culture. Big band orchestra is a standard. Here is a copy of the US. Here, big band life is too hard, don't help from government. Also for the musicians, is no give help. It's very bad times. But maybe in a few months we go up again. I don't know if you change better or bad. I don't know in US. I think so with the syndicated is you have a more safely. In London, I think from Mark Nightingale. Mark is a friend of mine that we recorded an album together. He said to me, the work go less and less money for years. And after these COVID problems, I don't think go better. Normally for horns like trombone, trumpet, the music change a lot. And very quickly, I think. I see a very fast change.
What advice would you give young bass trombonists who are
Oh.
starting to freelance now?
My advice is absolutely to play every kind of music and listen a lot of music because if you ask you trombone ballads like Dick Nash, ballads like Latin music, you need to know the different in music and the style. This is, I think, the important stuff because you don't know what you go to play, maybe a Latin jazz group or to play in the work in every situation, you need to know all styles. And also the technique, you need to play and to develop the technique. You need to practice a lot and try to stay at the top of your level and try to think positive, absolutely, in time, in all situation, and make a smile when you play the most bad song ever composed and arranged. You say with smile, "Oh, what a beautiful song! The most beautiful song I ever played in my life."
Mhm.
Sometimes the arranger or the composer need to resolve his problems with you. Sometimes a good player solve the problems of the wrong composer, sometimes. I see in Los Angeles many times Bill take the tenor because sometimes the partner is knowing the range of the bass, sometimes go up and need the tenor and Bill move to tenor, but he's not asked before. Bill take both trombones every time for don't have problems in the session. Also, I remember Alan Kaplan, another friend of mine and another great trombone player, one of the most great in Los Angeles. He take about three tenors for a session. It's like 2B, 36, and the 88 each for everything you need to play. And the same for the bass. For young players, respect to the other people, speak well of the other people, is not speak different of the reality for take jobs. I am never spoke bad for take jobs. You take jobs for your level playing. Many players take job speaking, no playing. You need to be a really correct guy.
You said to stay positive. Do you have any advice on staying positive?
Yeah, sometimes half a bottle of red wine go a positive, go positive. Sometimes need that, but I think it's not the right solution. Think positive for a good future and think a new project, think for the future. Leave all bad thinking, and compose it for playing better. This time is too hard, but if you are younger, it's better. If you have 51 like me, for my way, I don't care about other stuff. I think of my music, my stuff, my friends, like you, Trombone Brothers,
Mhm.
it's nice things. Think positive.
A lot of people are starting to play jazz bass trombone and improvising and playing it like a solo instrument. How do you see bass trombone and where and how the role of bass trombone changing?
Dave Taylor is a big example of bass trombone. He moved to real soloist in the classical contemporary music. It's very different styles, but you need to love that kind of music, to go in this way. It's a perfect for David because he mixes his love for this kind of music and the work from his early years, I think. So he moved in this way. And it's great because he's one of the amazing player I ever heard. For something it's too hard thinking as bass trombone is like a trumpet. But if you show to all audience the bass trombone like a George Roberts and Nelson Riddle put the bass trombone in the first line for 20, 30 years. The bass trombone is important part of the big band or in many styles, a very characteristic sound for Sinatra styles, swing and but if you like the solo albums of George Roberts, I try to do something like that, like a funky music, like pop songs played by bass trombone. I think so it's possible. Move the bass trombone in every first line instrument. It's not like a background instrument. The audience need to understand and need to listen different music. If you listen bad music every time, so like pop singers, all people love the pop singer. If a pop singer play bass trombone, maybe all people love the bass trombone in the pop music. Maybe audience need to listen different music. Maybe the bass trombone move in some others words, music words like pop songs. Maybe try to recording in the next month, something like that. is one of my projects. But trombone in the pop music is sometimes in the past many do that.
Hmm.
I remember one album, Ira Nipus, in the 70s maybe, or Franco Rosolino with Quincy Jones, like every much you change or something like that, example, but not bass trombone. I don't know. Maybe it's a good choice.
What are some of your favorite records?
It's a many, I have around 5,000 records bought in my life, maybe 2,500 CDs and the same number of LP vinyl. Mr. Roberts is just is one of my favorites. Many influence George in my life, but I love his sound, bass trombone in front of the band. That's just incredible. Maybe show what I do in my life.
Hmm. A lot of people like to use Spotify or YouTube.
Spotify.
Oh yeah, oh
You
yeah,
buy the records.
yeah,
Why do you
yeah,
do
yeah,
that?
yeah. I think for help of the musicians is a big things buy the records. I buy every times. About 5 days ago, I received a 15 vinyl from Copenhagen. 1 week ago, the same 10 records from Holland vinyl site. I buy also for I like to have the piece in my hand. Spotify, listen, is not the same important if you have a CD in your hand that you listen on by phone. It's a terrible thing. I don't listen music by headphones like that. How do you understand the George Robert sound of the Frank Rosalino phrasing it by headphones and by cell phone, you don't understand the correct sound and the music, the quality, and the arrangement. You lost most of the stuff, It's just an example. The first time I listened, The Joy of Living is the other one album I love it by George Roberts and Nelson Riddle. George played Making Whoopi. It's a mono version and it played very dark sound, When I found the stereo version about 30 years ago, a little more, and I understand the right sound because they're really different. You listen with the phone or the cell phone by Spotify, you don't understand the correct sound. It's just as different from vinyl mono and vinyl stereo. You understand when you listen. Also, Spotify is for me killing all musicians because if you do a CD, all people don't buy, but on Spotify, listen, your CDs killing you, killing your CD, killing your production. It's not good for musicians there. Some of my producer, when I see my CDs on Spotify, I spoke with for cancel my contract, It's not good for musicians, not good for music.
You work with a producer?
Sometimes, because sometimes the producer is a wrong name. Many times I do the master, the recording session, then the producer just print the record. He don't pay the guest, he don't pay many musicians, sometimes it's a friends of mine, good players that want to make music. In my life, I do a lot of stuff for my career, for my music, for my soul many things I do for working, for eat something, to have a family, to have a house, TV show is for a living. Jazz records is for your career, for your soul. It's different things.
Yeah, we ask this every week.
Oh yeah.
Independent versus dependent valves.
Oh yeah. I play all my life with depend Bob
Hmm.
because many times for emulate what I say in the old photos in the old albums, I see many players in the 70s. You don't play with inline valves. I try to play the inline valves. When you play with a single trigger, you play with a bass trombone with a single trigger. When you push two valves or one valve, you play with a double trigger. And there's different way of playing. It's for me, it's different.
Hmm.
It's a little more open with a depend system. I have my console custom for me made in this way, like an old 62H. The horn I love the most is a 62H Elkhart. It's my favorite horn. Yeah, line valves. I never use the second in G flat, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe it's hard for my head, you know. I don't know. Many players playing this way, but
Thank you
yeah.
so much for giving us your time. This
Thank you
has
very,
been
very much.
Oh,
great.
Yeah.
thank you, thank
Yeah.
you, thank you.
It was really, really great to have you on the show and get your amazing perspective.
Hmm.
So, yes, thank you.
Very
We're good.
important stuff you do with this meeting is very important. Most of the people to understand many things.
Thank
Thank you very
you.
much.
It's
Thank
been
you.
fun for us too. So,
Yeah, it really has.
bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.